Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Igcse Biology Help. In today's video, I'm going to be solving the Igcse Biology Paper 2 Extended. This is for the October-November 2023, Paper 2 Variant 1. I've already solved Variant 2 on my channel. If you want to see it, you can check it out on my channel. Make sure to subscribe and like so you can receive more content like this. Let's start solving. Question number 1. Some processes carried out by living organisms are listed: digestion, excretion, reproduction, and respiration. Which processes are carried out by all living organisms? So we know that all living organisms, they do something called Mrs. Gren. This is the characteristic of everything that is living. So this is characteristics of living organisms, which means that things that any living organism would do to show that it's actually a living organism. So M is actually movement, R is respiration, S is sensitivity, G is growth, R is reproduction, E is excretion, and N is nutrition. So over here you're going to see which options over here are from Mrs. Grun. So this is actually excretion and reproduction and respiration. So the answer is going to be C because digestion is not in Mrs. Graham. Number 2, the scientific name for humans is Homo sapiens. What does Homo refer to? Actually, Homo is the genus, because we know that the scientific name is divided into two parts. The first part, which is in capital letter, and it's always in italics, this is actually the genus, and the second part is called the species. So our answer is going to be B, which stands for genus. 3. Some structures are listed in the cells. Which structures are found in prokaryotic cells? So actually this is going to be 1, which is the cell membrane. It's found in prokaryotic cells. And 2, this is also found in prokaryotic cells. They also have cell walls. Prokaryotic cells or bacterial cells. So our answer is going to be A. 4. In a mesophyll cell, where are chloroplasts found? This is actually in the cytoplasm. So we know if you look at any animal, any plant cell diagram, then you will find that the chloroplasts are found in the cytoplasm. So our answer is going to be B. The diagram shows a flatworm. The flatworm has been magnified by 100 times. What is the actual size of the flatworm? So we know that if you want to calculate these types of questions, you have to use the I and triangle. The I stands for image, the A stands for actual size, and the M stands for magnification. Now, over here we have the image size as 50 millimeters. Of course, you have to convert it into micrometers, because over here the answers in the question, they're all in over here micrometers, not millimeters. So we know that 1 millimeters equals to 1000 micrometers. So you're going to be multiplying 50 times 1000. This is going to give you 50,000. So you're going to be dividing 50,000 divided by the magnification, which is 100. So the answer is going to be 500 over here. So answer is 500. 6. The diagrams show how a cell appears under the microscope at the start of an experiment and after it has been placed under a dilute solution of salts for 5 minutes, which explains what happens. So over here we can see that the size of the cell has increased. This is because there was the water. We know it moves by osmosis from high water potential to low water potential. So of course dilute water has higher water potential than in the cell. So the water has entered by osmosis. So our answer is going to be C. Number 7, the concentration of nitrate ions is higher inside a root hair cell than in the soil. What would be required for the absorption of nitrate ions into the root hair cell? Mitochondria. Number 2 says oxygen, membrane, proteins, and cell wall. So we know that for root hair cells, there is actually it is working by active transport, which requires energy. So mitochondria is required, of course. Now also oxygen is required because there is respiration in the active transport. So this is to provide energy. So oxygen is required, and also membrane proteins that are known as carriers, they're also required. So our answer is going to be B, which is 1, 2, and 3. Number 8. What is the color change shown by Benedict's solution when heated with a reducing sugar? This is actually from blue to red. Red indicates that there is high amounts of reducing sugar, and blue is the starting color of the Benedict solution. 9. The diagram shows the digestive system. Which part absorbs the most water? This is actually the small intestine, which is D. Number 10. Which statement is correct? The active site of an enzyme has the same shape as the substrate. This is actually an incorrect statement, because the substrate does not have the same shape as the active site. It has complementary shape, which means that the shapes fit together. They're not the same, because if they're the same, then they will not be able to bind. Now, letter B says the active site is not affected by changes in the temperature. Of course, this is incorrect, because it is affected by changes in temperature. It can be denatured, or it can have low amounts of kinetic energy. If there is a low temperature, then of course there will not be proper binding. C says the shape of the active site of an enzyme is complementary to its substrate. This is a correct statement. As I said, they have to be complementary, which means, for example, they have to fit together like a puzzle. So they have to be able to bind together very strongly so that they can form an enzyme substrate complex, which then the reaction will work. So our answer is going to be C. 11. The graph shows how the rate of photosynthesis of a plant changes with the light intensity at 3 different carbon dioxide concentrations. In each case, the temperature is 15 degrees. What is the limiting factor for the rate of photosynthesis at point X on the graph? So at point X over here, we can see that there's medium amount of carbon dioxide, and there is also medium amount of rate of photosynthesis and the light intensity as well. So actually over here we can see that the carbon dioxide concentration, it's not the highest thing. It can be higher over here. So our answer is going to be A, which is the carbon dioxide concentration, because the light intensity, as we all can see, it's at a good rate. Like, there is a high amount of light intensity. It's higher than this one, which is at the bottom, and the highest rate has higher carbon dioxide. So if you increase, as we can see, if you increase the carbon dioxide concentration, then you will get higher amounts of photosynthesis. So that is our answer. 12. The diagram shows a test tube at the start and at the end of an enzyme experiment. At the end of the experiment, the mixture in the test tube contains glycerol. Which row correctly identifies the enzyme and the substrate it acts on? So glycerol is actually found in fatty acids, which is fats or lipids. So as we all know, that the fat, it will produce, when it's broken down, it will produce 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol, as we all know. So the presence of glycerol indicates that there was fat, so there should be fat as well, fatty acids. So we know that the enzyme for lipids is actually lipase, so we're not going to be choosing from B or A, because amylase is for starch. Now lipase will, the substrate that acts on lipase, of course, is fat or lipids, so our answer is going to be C. 13. The diagram shows the teeth in the lower jaw of a human. Which tooth is a molar? The molar tooth is actually D, which is this one at the back. These are the molars. There is the premolar and the molar, which is this one. What is meant by chemical digestion? Large insoluble molecules are broken down into smaller soluble molecules. This is actually a correct statement. Chemical digestion will break down large insoluble molecules, such as food molecules, and they will be broken down into much smaller molecules so that they can be easily absorbed by the cells and the blood. So our answer is going to be A. 15. The diagram shows a villus in the small intestine. What is absorbed at X? This is actually fatty acids. We all know that this is actually part of the fat emulsification. These are actually the lacteals as well. 16. What is a description of transpiration? Exchange of gases between the leaf and the atmosphere. This is actually not a correct statement. It is actually the loss of water vapor from the from the leaves of a plant. This is a more accurate description. So the answer is B. 17. Parts of a plant are listed: mesophyll cells, root cortex cells, root hair cells, and xylem vessels. What is the pathway taken by water in the plant? So we know, first of all, the water, it enters when people or a person like decides to water the plant. They will add the water to the roots. So first of all, it will start off from the root, which is the root hair cells over here. So we're going to be choosing between C and D. Now, from root hair cells, it should actually go to the root cortex cells, which is also in the root. So from its name, they're both in the root, so you wouldn't move from one area to the another unless you finished from like the whole root. So first it is from the root hair cells, and then to the root cortex cells, and then it goes through the xylem. The xylem, we know it is the vessel that transports water, and it only goes upwards. It's just like a straw. And then it goes to the mesophyll cells, where it is used to make photosynthesis. So our answer is actually going to be D. 18. The diagrams show the single circulation of a fish and the double circulation of a mammal. Which letters represent areas with the most oxygenated blood? So the most oxygenated blood should obviously be right after the gill capillaries, which is like the lungs in the humans. So the blood should be very oxygenated at around S. And also it should, this is for the fish circulation. Now for the mammal circulation, we have a heart over here. This is double circulation. So of course, as I said, the most oxygenated blood should come out directly from the lungs over here. So this is where the blood gets oxygenated. So Y should be also the most oxygenated blood, which is going to the atria over here. Which is going back to the blood, going back to the heart over here, so it can be pumped through the aorta, which will be distributed around the body. So our answer is going to be S and Y. 19. What is the role of the lymphocytes in the blood? This is actually for antibody production. The lymphocytes are the body uses it for antibody production so that your body can protect you against diseases. 20. A patient was injected with antibodies after being bitten by a poisonous snake. The patient recovered and survived. What describes the effect of the injection in the patient's body? So this is actually not active immunity, because they did not get the antibodies naturally. They got it from an injection. So this is actually passive immunity. This is just like the immunity from the mother when a baby is born. So passive immunity, and there are no there's no memory cells produced, because memory cells are only produced when there is active immunity. So our answer is going to be D. 21. Which table correctly shows the difference in composition of inspired air compared with expired air? So inspired air, as we all know, it will always have more oxygen. So A and B are wrong, because it says that there will be less oxygen in inspired air. And over here we'll be choosing from C and D. So inspired air has more oxygen and it has less carbon dioxide. This is correct. This one is wrong, because carbon dioxide is not more in inspired air, it is actually less. So our answer is going to be C. 22. Which row shows the correct combination of muscle contractions and the pressure in the thorax when breathing out? Of course, we all know that internal intercostal muscles will be contracted, and then The external intercostal muscles are the opposite of the internal. So if the internal intercostal muscle is, for example, relaxed, then the external ones will be contracted because they are the opposites. And the diaphragm will be relaxed, and the pressure should be high because the diaphragm is relaxed. So our answer is going to be B for this question. 23. Three statements about anaerobic respiration are listed. In humans, the product is lactic acid. In yeast, the product is lactic acid. It releases more energy per glucose molecule than aerobic respiration. Of course, first of all, in humans, the product is lactic acid. This is correct because, as we all know, when, for example, if you go and do some vigorous exercise, then your body will not have enough oxygen to, like, it will not have enough energy to keep up with your exercise. So anaerobic respiration will take place. This will cause oxygen depth because lactic acid will be produced in your blood, which is actually toxic. So in yeast, the product is lactic acid. This is incorrect. It is actually ethanol or alcohol. Now, 3 says it releases more energy per glucose molecule than aerobic respiration. Um, this is actually incorrect. So our answer is going to be C, which is one only. 24. What is a balanced chemical equation for a type of respiration that occurs in yeast? Actually, it should be anaerobic respiration because yeast that only does anaerobic respiration, which is, of course, without oxygen. So this is actually C. This is the equation for anaerobic respiration. 25. The diagram shows the human excretory system, which labeled structure is the urethra. This is actually D, which transports the urine into the anus. 26, or your bladder. 26. The diagrams show 3 types of neurons. Which sequence shows the direction that impulses will travel during a reflex action? Actually, it is going to be, first you're going to be starting off from L over here. So the only answer that starts from L is actually A. So your answer is going to be A because all of them start from either M or N, which is incorrect. 27. Which statement about rods and cones in the eye is correct? But A says both rods and cones detect different colors of light. This is actually incorrect because rods do not detect different colors. They only detect night vision, which is like black and white. B, only cones are present in the blind spot. This is actually incorrect. There is none. That's why it is called a blind spot. You cannot see anything in that spot. C says rods are more sensitive than cones in low light intensity. This is correct. And rods actually help with your night vision, as I said, because they can help detect like black and white vision. That's why when you are in the dark, you only see black and white because your rods are working. So C is our answer. 28. Which diseases can be successfully treated with antibiotics? Of course, anything that is caused by viruses, it cannot be treated by antibiotics, such as rickets. Rickets is not actually made from viruses or made from bacteria. It is caused by a vitamin deficiency. So only diseases that are caused by bacteria that can be treated, and anything else is not for antibiotics. 29. Which statement about human sexual reproduction is correct? A says all gametes are haploid. This is a correct statement. So our answer is going to be A. 30. Where is the estrogen produced? This is actually in the ovaries, of course. So our answer is going to be B. 31. Which row shows correct information about mitosis? So mitosis is actually producing genetically identical cells, and it is used in asexual production. 32. Polydactyly is a condition that can occur in cats and results in affected individuals having extra toes. The diagram shows the inheritance of the condition in the family of cats. So if it's a circle, that means it's a female, and if it's shaded, that means it is actually it has the condition, and if it's a square, it's a male, of course. So a female cat who does not have the condition has married a cat that has a male cat that has the condition. So it resulted in two cats that do not have the condition and another two that have the condition. And their children, of course, both of them, two of them had the condition and one didn't. So this means that the condition is actually dominant because it is found in most of the cats. So there's a 50% chance that the cats that like if one of the parents had the condition, then there's a 50% chance that the next child is going to have the disease or not. So this indicates that this is a dominant disease. So our answer is going to be C. 33. The photomicrograph shows a cross section through a maram grass leaf. Which feature is an adaptation for a xerophyte? So we know that xerophytes are plants that live in desert conditions. They do not have access to much water, so they have to have adaptations so that they can preserve their water inside of them. Um, actually, A says the presence of chloroplast. This is found in all plants, so this is not something that is special. B says the presence of fine hairs. This is actually correct. This increases the surface area so that there is like lower amounts of water being like transpired. So our answer is going to be B. 34. Some statements about mutations are given. A random change in the amino acid sequence in DNA causes gene mutation. A mutation is a genetic change. 3 says ionizing radiation decreases the rate of mutation. And 4 says new alleles are formed by mutations. Of course, number 1 is incorrect because a mutation is a genetic change, so we're going to be choosing 2. 3 says ionizing radiation decreases the rate of mutation. This is incorrect, of course. It increases the rate of mutation. Number 4 says new alleles are formed by mutations. This is correct. So our answer is going to be 2 and 4. 35. The graph shows the growth of a population of rabbits in one area. Which statements are correct? 1 says at X the birth rate is higher than the death rate. So this is actually correct because we can see that the population is not decreasing. It is actually going upwards, which is increasing. So there is higher birth rate than death rate. If there is a higher death rate, then it will go down because more people are dying than being born. Now number 2 says at X, there are no deaths and the population is limited by a lack of food. So X, over here, there is actually no way that there's no death. There's always death in a population, and the population is not limited. It is actually increasing. So this is incorrect. 3 says at Y, the birth rate and death rate are equal. This is correct because the population is stable. It is not increasing nor decreasing. It is the same. So this is actually correct. So our answer is going to be B, which is 1 and 3. Guinea pigs, the allele for black fur is dominant and the allele for white fur is recessive. A test cross can be used to determine the genotype of a Guinea pig with black fur. What would be expected results of the test cross if the Guinea pig with black fur was homozygous? So homozygous means, for example, it has both of the alleles dominant or both of them recessive. There is no in between. So if there is in between, so for example, if it had one dominant and one recessive, then this is called heterozygous. So of course, they said that they have black homozygous fur, which means they have both dominant alleles, which means that it will be 100% black because it is homozygous. It only has dominant alleles. 37. The diagram shows part of the nitrogen cycle. Which row shows the correct processes for R, S, and T? So R over here is the process R by bacteria in the soil. This is actually nitrogen fixation. It always occurs from the nitrogen gas in the atmosphere. So you're going to be choosing over here between C and D for now because these are the only ones that have R as nitrogen fixation. Now for process R, or I mean process T. This is by the bacteria in the soil. This is at the end actually. So again, this is denitrification. So our answer is going to be C. So also nitrification is process S. This is from ammonium ions over here. And it takes ammonium ions and then it produces nitrates in the soil. So this is nitrification. So our answer is going to be C. 38. During eutrophication, what causes the death of the fish? This is actually decreased concentration of oxygen in the water. This is a result of increased respiration or increased photosynthesis. No, increased respiration by the plants that are overly growing as a result of increased fertilizer in the water. So excess plants will grow and they will take away the nutrients in the water that belongs to other organisms. This will cause death of fish, of course, because there is lower amount of oxygen in the water. So D is our answer. 39. Which product is made using an enzyme rather than a bacteria or fungi? This is actually lactose-free milk, because lactose-free milk, there is an enzyme that will break down the lactose in the milk. So our answer is going to be C. 40. Some ways in which humans make use of organisms are listed. 1. Using yeast to produce ethanol. 2. Artificial selection of sheep with thick wool. 3. Using bacteria to produce human substances. What are examples of genetic modification? So 1 is not actually genetic modification. You're not doing anything to the genes. You're just using ethanol. You're just using yeast. 2 says artificial selection of sheep with thick wool. Actually, again, you're not doing genetic modification. Genetic modification is when you are using bacteria to produce human substances. This is genetic modification. You're doing things that are not like natural. Or using bacteria, this is actually when you take a part of the gene of the bacteria and then you take a gene of the part of the DNA of the human and then you put them together and it forms the human substances. As we all know, this is a process that we took before or we explained before. So our answer is going to be D. Thank you all for watching. This was the end of the exam. Make sure to subscribe and like so you can receive more content like this, and good luck with your exams.